Our guest speaker is no stranger to anyone in this room. He is a 1952 graduate of Scituate High School. From SHS, he signed up for a tour of duty with the Marines and was stationed at the naval base in Okinawa, Japan from 53 to 56. A self-proclaimed late bloomer, he received his Bachelor of Arts degree from Bridgewater State College in 1963. In addition to his stint in the military, his resume includes experience as a gas station attendant at what is now Zucker's service station, and part-time work at the Golden Rooster restaurant in Cohasset. However, his primary vocation, as we all know, is education. He has taught English for 29 years, 26 of them here at Scituate High School. He has made a difference in thousands of students' lives. Beloved by students and colleagues, he's a daily inspiration to us. His enthusiasm, love of teaching, and thirst for knowledge are contagious. He continues to model the principle of lifelong learning, recently completing his master's degree at Lesley College. Famous for his barbs, wit, and long-windedness, he claims that the class of 1992 selected him as speaker because of his intellect and his oratorical ability. I maintain that he was chosen by you so you would have a yearbook this year. Members of the class of 1992, your favorite English teacher and yearbook advisor, Mr. Peter Nord.
I guess we really know who has the BS degree around here. Good evening, Mrs. Lane, Dr. Kulovich, Mrs. Goodale, invited guests, most importantly, the class of 1992. You'll notice I've brought a few notes. You ready to take a nap? Hey, look. Real shoes. Spit shine. Well, I'll tell you. Since being offered this opportunity, I've asked myself several times why. I even asked Dr. Kulovich if maybe he neglected to tell me something. Like, is this my swan song? Am I headed for early retirement? And he smiled and said, no. So, you know me, I had to say it. Well, is there maybe a raise in it for me? He looked me square in the eye and he said, don't press your luck, Nordo. But I finally figured it out. The seniors all got together and they said, we're going to make him sweat for all those crummy assignments he gave us. You got it. Well, I really gave it some thought. And those of you who know me well, you know what some of the ideas were I had in mind. And I thought maybe I needed a little support up here. I was going to bring it. The table leg. I couldn't do it. The camera somewhere around here. We'd all be in trouble. 40 years ago tonight, I sat where you're sitting. Well, not exactly there anyway, but back at what was then on the 5th of June in 1952, the old Scituate High School, in the old combination gymnasium and auditorium in what is now the Gate School Library. For the life of me, I can't remember whether we had a commencement speaker. I certainly can't remember the commencement speech, which sure bodes well for this one, eh? And as I struggled to discover my topic for tonight, I shared some thoughts with some of my colleagues. And they would say, "Oh my God, you can't say that." Or, "Heavens, they'll fire you if you talk about those things." Probably flunked out of class. I guess I sometimes forget what an iconoclast I can be. Look that up in your Funk and Waggles tonight. Anyway, I thought about some of the scoundrels in Washington that I could talk about tonight, or maybe the thieves in the banking business. And of course, Dan Quayle gives you a new idea every week, practically. But despite the appeal of virtues and values in Mom's apple pie, I have chosen as my focus for tonight the significance and importance of failure. I checked my trusty Funk and Wagnalls. Here's the best definition I could find. I want you to take notes. It'll be a test after the ceremony. Failure, noun. The condition or fact of not achieving the desired end or ends. Now I want you to look around at the news reporters. They're all scribbling like mad. You can see the headline tomorrow, "Nord advocates failure." There are a few whispering, this recalcitrant ding-dong is going to talk about failure. He probably is a failure. And they don't know how right they are. Well, there's a lot of truth in that assumption. A short while ago, I met an old friend, talking to him a bit, and he complimented me on an article that was written in the Mariner. It was written by a former student of mine who's here right now taking notes. I better watch out. This friend of mine said, "That's a pretty good article. Pretty complimentary. But he said you should never, never have mentioned the fact that you flunked out of college 3 times. He said, "That's stupid. What kind of a role model can you be teaching our kids you flunked out of college 3 times? Well, I'm certainly not proud, but I'm not ashamed either. I euphemistically call these incidents mutually agreed upon terminations of my candidacy for a degree. Let's see if we can spell all that, right? It is true. It took me 11 years to get my bachelor's degree in English, but at least I got it. Last month, finally got my Master of Arts degree, 29 years, even more later than that. "40 years as a student." I can hear somebody down there now saying, "Boy, Mr. Nord, are you stupid?" Well, I can even hear one of you saying next fall, you get on the phone, "Hey, Ma, Mr. Nord said it's okay to fail. I'll be home at Thanksgiving for good." Well, you see, I believe there's nothing inherently wrong with failure. The problem with failure is twofold. Number one, if you really seek out failure, that's like walking blindly in a minefield. And number two, if you don't profit by the mistakes that caused the failure, that can be equally disastrous. But I firmly believe that failure can be a positive thing. Here's a few tips. First of all, don't fear failure. Of course, you don't want to major in it either. I pretty nearly did. But you need to keep failure in perspective. Don't dwell on it. In high school, I played 3 sports. My best sport was football. I can well remember certain things that happened. I never dropped a pass in a game, except once. We were behind 13 to 12, 30 seconds left in the game. In fact, I see a few people out here right now who are probably at that game. It was a long pass, not a defender near me. Right up here on my hand, right up there in the sky, dribbled right off my fingers, bounced down crazily in the dust. Lost touchdown, dropped pass. It eventually cost us the Eastern Massachusetts State Class D title. That scene haunted my nightmares for years. And I dwelled on it. I was obsessed with it. Later, much later, after I'd flunked out of college for the first time, I was on an evacuation mission just off the coast of communist China with the Marine Corps. In my day, that's where the failures went, in the Marine Corps. We were issued flak vests and bandoliers of M1 ammunition, and as we moved down into the well deck to our landing craft, we passed some sailors loading 5-inch shells into the deck gun, and my platoon sergeant, who knew the story about that lost touchdown, he pointed to one of those 5-inch shells, and he said, "Now, if you dropped one of those suckers, that would be a touchdown that you'd never forget." From that day on, the failure of the dropped pass was put neatly into perspective. You got to remember there's always something bigger than your own private or even public failure. Secondly, don't fail deliberately. This is simple, but it's also sheer folly. And what frequently happens is that we're looking for scapegoats. We make all kinds of excuses for ourselves when we fail deliberately. And as George Washington Carver said, quote, 99% of the failures come from people who have the habit of making excuses, end quote. Third, prepare yourselves so that you always put the odds in your favor. Know your strengths, but also know your limitations. Then, if you fail, maybe it's because of circumstances beyond your control, in which case it's not really a failure after all. Fourth, be wary of successes that are the consequences of luck or simply good fortune. You may enjoy these situations, but don't kid yourself by taking credit for luck. And while I'm at it, be careful about knocking the failure of others. Polish your self-esteem as well as your esteem for others. You never know when that imp of ill fortune will select you as the next victim. Last but not least, think of failure as a beginning, not as an end. As Vince Lombardi said, quote, "The greatest accomplishment is not in never falling, but in rising again after the fall." In conclusion, I'd like to quote one of my favorite authors, often a failure in some aspects of his own life, Ralph Waldo Emerson. And I guess we've sort of come full circle from failure to its antithesis, success. Here's Ralph Waldo Emerson's recipe for success: to laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition. To know that even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. But remember, Mr. Nord says it's okay to fail. May the gods smile upon you as you take your next steps in life's journey. And may I thank you for everything that you have done for me in helping me to achieve my desired ends, which are inextricably connected to yours. Someday, I too will grow up, but not quite yet. There are still a few more students from whom I have a lot more to learn. I thank you, and good luck.